Brian Robb, J. King, and Sam Packard present Still Poddable, Still Poddable, the Boston Celtics, Still Poddable, Still Poddable. Oh yeah! Still Poddable, Still Poddable, Boston Celtics, Still Poddable, Still Poddable. And a 19. Jalen Brown, D. White, Crazy Joe. Still Poddable, Still Poddable. When Tatum coming back. Still Poddable, Still Poddable, Still Poddable, Still Poddable. The Boston Celtics, Still Poddable, Still Poddable. Oh yeah!
Come on, don't get the next generation. 48 guy wants a win. Don't no time.
Let's go, you motherfucking Celtics. Let's go, baby. Let's go. You motherfucking Celtics. Let's go.
Let's go, baby! Welcome back to Still Poddable, the best Celtics podcast here on Al Gore's internet. Today we are on the CLNS Media Network. That means we are brought to you by Prize Picks. If you want to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup, use promo code CLNS. Who are we? We are Still Poddable. That is Jay King from The Athletic, Celtics beat reporter for 10 plus seasons. That is Brian B. Robb, another Celtics beat reporter for 10 plus seasons. I am Sam Jam Packard. I have been yelling into a microphone about the Boston Celtics also for 10 plus seasons. That's 30 years of Celtics coverage experience coming together. We are Still Poddable. We got 2 free episodes for you a week. Come right here on the CLNS network, also anywhere you get podcasts. But if you want more Celtics content, we got you every single day of the week on our Patreon, patreon.com/stillpoddable. We got game recaps. We got behind the scenes footage because B-Rob and Jay are there at the practices. They are asking Joe Mazzulla the annoying questions. Joe Mazzulla is coming to them after some press conferences and telling them off the record stuff. They probably won't tell you that, but it's happening. And so you guys should join the Patreon today. There's also a cool Patreon chat that's live during every single game. The kids, the gods, and the legends, a very cool Boston Celtics community that you could be a part of. So join today. That's patreon.com/stillpoddable. One of those perks in being part of the Still Poddable Patreon community is you get to access to the mailbag. We're doing a mailbag episode, folks. We didn't invent the medium, but it's a classic podcast gimmick for a reason. And so these questions come to you guys directly from the patrons of the kids, the gods, and legends, asking us the mailbag. And we're going to dive into the best questions of the day.
Before we get to those, I have a question for you from my mailbag. And that's, why don't you have an undershirt on right now?
Well, see, I was at the gym before this, and I was working out, did about 35 minutes on the Stairmaster, and got a bit sweaty. And then I normally bring a shirt to change into, but I forgot, and I don't like walking home in the sweaty shirt, so I just kind of put on the sweatshirt. And then I was just so committed to podcasting that I had to come right here before changing.
You look awful. Like your chest hair is truly alarming.
Alarming to who?
All our viewers. I hope to God that everyone is just listening to this and not watching.
Pot it up. As a guy on YouTube comments say, gotta pot it up. I think my chest hair looks wonderful. I think I'm ready to podcast. And I think actually the podcast would be improved if all of us were showing our chest hair. But you know what? I'm not gonna ask you guys to do that right now. No chest hair. You're bald. Do you wax?
No, that's just how I am.
Well, I guess B-Rob, we need to know your chest hair situation as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty close to you, Packard.
Yeah. Jay King can't even deal with a little chest hair because he's jealous that he's not a real man. Let's dive into the first question. This is from Gamblin Grant.
What a start.
Before the season, the whole team was preaching pace, push the pace. Celtics currently rank dead last in pace, and so some rebounding definitely helps push the pace and getting guy in the corners. But do you guys see the pace improving, or is it just that's what it's going to be with the current personnel? B-Rob,
I think the intentions were there, but here's the thing: Jaylen Brown, a lot of these guys in the starting lineup, they're responsible for a lot in these games on both ends of the floor right now. And getting up and down for 48 minutes is a lot of work. And so Jaylen straight up admitted it, I think, last week in a press conference, being like, yeah, this is, I want to run more, but I also have to, have some energy at the end of the game. So you factor in that with the challenge of being like, well, in order to get out and run, you have to rebound the ball and force turnovers. You're doing the forcing turnovers part. Rebounding is a hit or miss proposition at this point. So I don't really see it getting much better, considering they've been healthy at this point and kind of doing it.
The pace stats are misleading.
Oh, this is where Jay pushes the old Joe Mazzulla propaganda. It's about time to first shot. Time to first shot, folks.
The pace stats involve two teams. And so the Celtics are picking up full. They are forcing teams to take a lot of the shot clock. When the Celtics are on offense, they are 12th in time to shot, which is up from 22nd last year. So they are actually playing faster. They are actually getting into their offense earlier. They are actually getting shots up earlier. And the pace itself of the entire game hasn't changed yet, but they're playing differently. And I think people should there's nuance to the pace stat that if you just say they're dead last in pace, it doesn't capture.
Jay King and these newfangled analytics, time to shot.
In the half court, though, Jay, do you feel like obviously they're getting out more, forcing turnovers more, leading to more transition opportunities? That will certainly account for some of that. In the half court itself, do you feel like just off of inbounding the ball and walking up the floor, do you feel like there's been a measured change there?
I would say the bigger change comes on defense. Like they are, even though it kind of slows down the other team, at least when they're not forcing turnovers, like they're getting up in people, they are forcing turnovers, and that leads to the quicker possessions. And so I don't think there's necessarily a huge change in other ways, but the way that they're playing defense is drastically different.
Fair enough. Next question from Sarah S., who's actually a legitimate journalist, one of the legitimate journalists we have in the Still Poddable community. She asks, how do you guys rate Joe Mazzulla's performance so far this year? It's different than last year, but he feels more on edge, and he's being hard on guys like the reporters. Does it seem like he's okay, or it's working, or is he just bullying you guys, or bullying the team? How effective, Jay, would you say Joe Mazzulla is being this year with a kind of a lesser team?
It's probably right to say he's more on edge. I think he wants everybody to realize that chaos is part of the equation this year. I think he wants players to realize that. I think he wants everybody to know, like, they need to be able to cause chaos. They need to be able to force turnovers. They need to be able to have young wings who get in there and know, I'm just out here to be energy. I'm out here to get offensive rebounds. I'm out here to mess things up for the other team. I'm just out there to go crazy. And yeah, like he's definitely approached things differently. I think that's why I would grade him pretty highly this year. He has totally changed his approach to everything because his team needs it. They're a lot younger. They lost several former All-Stars. They lost Jason Tatum to injury. They are playing young guys who have never, ever gotten a chance in the league, who, for various reasons, were out of rotations before. They are so much less experienced than they used to be. They have a lot to learn, and he's changed everything. Like, they're one of the best teams in the league at forcing turnovers now. They are now, I think, 8th in offensive rebound rate, which is a huge jump from a couple of seasons ago and pretty big jump from last year. And they need to be those things to make it work. And so I give him a lot of credit for being able to adapt, for being able to create a vision for this team, and for being able to get the buy-in from a lot of guys while he is doing things that are not custom for NBA coaches to do. He's yanking guys quickly. He's putting even guys like Anthony Simons on the bench. You can start one day and not play the next, and everybody seems on board with it. Everybody seems to trust in what Joe's doing. Even Jaylen Brown, he played 10 minutes in the first half of the Brooklyn game, comes after and says, yeah, I was trash, and Joe's holding me to a high standard. He's okay with it. And so I give Joe a lot of credit. I think the way that he's coached so far this year, if a couple of games go differently in crunch time, we're looking at this team. They could be 10-5 very easily. And if they were 10-5, Joe would be, the talk of the town right now. Instead, they're 8-7, which is still pretty solid. And I really think he's done a great job to evolve the way he has and to transform this team the way he has.
Yeah, you'd take an 8-7 record out of the gate 10 times out of 10 before the start of the season, especially if you got to look at what Derek White and Peyton Pritchard's shooting numbers were to start this year. To Jay's point on that. And so in my mind, the only the buy-in is fully there across the board. That he's always had that. The fact that that's continued with all the chaos that we've seen, I think is a very encouraging sign. And frankly, I think they've built the kind of roster, like Brad in the front office, that will cater to that will be accepting of that. Like the guys that are here are either you're trying to fight for your life, fight for your NBA life, or you're here and know Joe and your buy-in is there from you. They have the trust. So it's there's no one, they weren't bringing in a one-year guy that just wants to put up numbers and get their next contract. None of those guys are on the roster right now. And so that's a credit to Joe that the buy-in is there for that. And so my only quibble with Joe so far is I think in a couple of those crunch time matchups that you could, whether it's probably more in the players there, but that's just in the course of a 15-game season, you're going to have those come up regardless.
Matthew Jensen wants to know, is Jam serious right now with this look? He's not serious. He is totally unserious. It's embarrassing.
What can I say? I'm just trying to give the people what they want. I think the thing about this roster is that no one is good enough to not put up with the bullying. Jordan Walsh, Josh Minot have had their just minutes completely flipped and tested, but neither of those guys are good enough to be I demand a rotation spot. Luka Garza's certainly not there. Maybe Anthony Simons could make a beef of being I was a starter in this league for 4 years, but he's clearly fighting for his next contract. And then the rest of the guys won a championship with Joe and kind of, I don't know, Peyton Pritchard's insane. And so he likes that kind of bully. It feels like they have a roster, or put together a roster who welcome the bullying. And so Joe might be on edge, but Joe is, I think, reacting to what he believes those guys needs. And Joe, it feels like he does a very good job of connecting with each of the players individually and trying to find out what makes them click, and going to Chris Boucher's baptism a week after knowing him, and just and I feel like he's created an environment where he knows what is going to make these players better, and it feels like he's settled on absolute bullying and absolute chaos, and he just doesn't have a roster where it's it makes sense to have great stability, because there's not a lot of difference between guys 5 through whatever 12 on the roster. And so I think why not go with the bullying? I think it's working so far. And Jay's point, we're really in the season, but 2 games go differently, and they're 10-5 right now. And Jay's absolutely right. There's just there's totally different vibes. They're probably the third best team in the East in terms of seeding. And so, maybe that the Jazz game goes a little bit differently, and one of the Sixers games, and all of a sudden we're talking about Joe Mazzulla Coach of the Year. And so I think Joe has done a pretty solid job, but they're also a 500 team and have the worst rating in clutch time. So there's definitely room for improvement. The 26th worst rating in clutch time. So I would give Joe a B+ if I was going to grade him after 15 games, which is still good to get you into. Yeah, why not? Oh, yeah. Sure, why not? Before we get to the next question, let's hear from our dear friends at the Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to make your picks every single day. It's the best place to be right and to get paid. And so if you don't want to miss any of the excitement of this basketball season, go to Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. It's been a very fun basketball season so far. Maybe you could just pick players on the Toronto Raptors for more. Maybe you can pick Jalen Duren for more. Who knows what surprises? But if you've got hot takes and you want to make some money, Prize Picks is the place for you. Prize Picks now offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. So if you want to pick more on Jaylen Brown's points, 3-pointers, and assists, now you can pick all 3 of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. You can also play in the most flexible way you want. You can choose flex play, where you get paid even if one of your picks misses, or if you want the biggest payouts possible, go for the power play. No matter how you play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. If you want to do that, download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It is good to be right. Now, we're entering the portion of the show I like to call trade speculation and finding a backup center. Earlier this week, I proposed a little bit of a Nick Claxton trade. He didn't exactly play brilliantly in the first game against the Celtics. Maybe he'll redeem himself on Friday night. But this first question about a potential backup center, or starting center in this case, is from Will F. He's asking about a different center. He said, if the Los Angeles Clippers finally decide to put down their old team and have a fire sale, what could a potential Zubac trade look like? And do you think that's a good idea, B-Rob?
Like it more than Claxton.
Well, yeah, he's a way better player.
We'll start there. I don't yeah. It's what makes sense about it would be the contract is $18 million this year, $19 million next season, and then close to $21 million for the 27-28 season. So that's something that can fit into the budget around Jalen, Jason, and Derek White, and you can probably figure out enough draft capital there. I don't know how deep you want to dig into your treasure chest of assets there to get him, but that's where you move Simons, maybe 1 or 2 first-round picks, or whatever Simons' contract turns into. I assume this is not going to be a deal that's available to the Celtics until the offseason. I don't think the Clippers are going to blow it up for a guy like him that early, but if they really want to blow it up this offseason and fully start over, then this is a guy that on the Celtics timeline would very much work next to Jason and Jalen. The question is, Jay, like he can't shoot for a big. So I wonder if ultimately like that is the type of big they're going to prioritize more over a guy like this, even though this is a guy that would certainly be starting caliber and do everything else for them. But
he's also legitimate all defense level.
Yeah.
He's enormous, would give them a ton of rim protection. And this is where guys should be setting their sights, not Nick Claxton, who makes more money, by the way. This is where people should be setting their sights on a difference maker. And I don't know if it's going to be Zubac. I don't know if it's going to be somebody else. But you have to get championship caliber players because the goal is to win a championship. The goal is not to, upgrade the front court enough to be a tougher out. Like, no, it's to win a championship. And Zubac has improved so much defensively. He kind of reminds me of like Brook Lopez transformation defensively, where early in his career, you were kind of like, I don't know about this guy. I don't know if he'll ever be able to defend at the level he needs to. Can't really move his feet. And then all of a sudden, it's like, he's a rim protecting monster. And last year, he finished 6th in Defensive Player of the Year vote. This year, the Clippers are a mess, which is why people are dreaming about this option. But yeah, if Zubac is available, then that's the type of player, that's the type of impact guy that the Celtics should be looking for.
Well,
Okay.
we got another question.
And he's 28, which is a pretty good age
Yeah.
for everything the Celtics want to do.
You don't want to wait for a guy to build. You want that guy to be ready to go, and this guy is very much in his prime for the next few years.
Alex L asks kind of a similar question. If it's not Zubac, who is like a realistic center to put with this core in the 26-27 season? Like, are there other targets out there to kind of pair with Tatum, White, and Brown? Or do you think you need to like give up maybe a White or a Brown to retool this roster to move forward in 26-27?
In this price range, my guess is this is the best option. I think that's when you start looking at, okay, if you want to take a bigger salary in, then probably one of White or Brown are going to have to move in that scenario just to make it, to round out what fits if you're obviously staying under the second apron at that point.
Let me throw a name at you. Isaiah Hartenstein has a team option for $28.5 million. Do you think, I'm not sure, I just hope, I don't know, but I hope the Thunder are in cap hell at this point if they're going to win back-to-back championships. I know it's probably hard, you don't sign free agents nowadays because free agency isn't a thing anymore, but is that the type of guy you think moves the needle? He's kind of young, or is he making too much money if he's getting paid the $28 million range?
If the Thunder do end up moving significant salary, it will be to get minimal salary back. It will be like the Celtics did this past summer, where they traded.
That's why it's the club option. So they would try to it
Right.
would be potentially free agency next year.
Right, but the Celtics probably couldn't take back that big of a salary. They'd have to you have to do some salary matching there, unless they do have these TPEs that they created in the Porzingis, but they're not big enough to fit a salary that big, $28.5 million. So, yeah, like this is, you'd have to match the money in that scenario, and I don't know if you can cobble. Like, I guess you could cobble up Hauser. You probably have to do Pritchard. Because that's literally your only movable salary here in the offseason. Unless, and this is a big thing for moving forward to the trade deadline, like the Simons expiring deal, ideally you want to turn that into movable salary for next season. Because just for that reason, Jam, like going after a guy like Hartenstein, that becomes a lot more realistic. Whether they can do that and achieve their tax objectives, if those are out there, again, we'll see how the season goes. We'll see what the priorities are at the trade deadline. But that's something to watch for when they figure out if and when they're going to make a Simons move.
So the idea is to turn Simons into guys who are on contract for next season, but like one guy who makes $12 million and one guy who makes like $15 million just for trade chips? Potentially.
Or I guess if you want to get out of the tax entirely and use the advantages of that to increase your spending next year. I don't know. I'm curious to see how they go with it, but strategically in terms of team building for next year, that's how I would go about it. I want to maneuver that deal into stuff I can trade in the offseason to get stuff that helps me next season. Simon's contract is not going to be able to do that because it's an expiring, and he's not going to make anything close to that, even if he's signed and traded somewhere.
I'm trying to think of other potential targets. Like looking at the free agent class, I already mentioned free agency is done, but like other free agents next summer are Vucevic too old, Nurkic not good enough. Bring back Time Lord, Mo Wagner. Can I interest you in Mo Wagner, Jay?
I would love to cover Mo Wagner again. I covered
nice
Mo
reunion
Wagner
story
for what, a week.
Yep.
How long was he on the Celtics?
They cut him for Jabari Parker, I believe.
One of the most entertaining basketball players who's ever lived. Just a bench player who talks utter trash all day long, never stops. I love it. I love watching Mo Wagner play. He has got to be, outside of Dylan Brooks, he might be the biggest irritant in the league.
Not wrong. People seem to be obsessed with Walker Kessler as an idea, and he obviously had a great first defensive year, couple seasons. I just don't.
He's restricted.
See him as a two-way player
too. That's not.
And the Jazz are going to be bad with or without Walker Kessler, so they don't need to necessarily move him. There's no reason for them to give up
out this whole season.
Yeah,
so,
I think you want a more win now proven piece, I think, than Kessler if you're going to make you'd have to give up a lot to get Kessler, and I'm not sure he has a track record to give up a lot for.
Right now, the history that we have with Brad Stevens shows, like B Rob said, he went after proven guys who had already like developed, had reached their prime, or Drew's case probably like slightly after his prime, and were ready to come in, and probably undervalued, at least in Kristaps's case, undervalued when the Celtics went out and got him. And that's the roadmap for him. And so, yeah, I would agree. There'll be guys that are like Derek White, same thing, like probably undervalued when the Celtics got him. He was 27, 28 years old, like ready to win, totally selfless, like, and that's the type of guys that Brad likes. That's the type of guys he's probably going to go after. I agree with B-Rob. Like, you could get a little younger, but for the most part, like, when Jason Tatum comes back, this team is going to be ready to win. And they'll need one or two guys to solidify their rotation, to give them more options offensively, and to give them more versatility defensively, and probably a little bit more size. And those are like the guys that are out there. I think Zubac would be one of them, but guys who just proven to help at a high level when they're on the court.
All right, we have a lot of time to talk about this. We'll be digging into this deeper. Don't worry.
Plenty of time. This question's from Jeff P. First, giving a shout out to Trinity Basketball for the win. Bantam Pride. I know Jay's a big
Bantams, baby. I got the Final Four sweatshirt here.
Did they win the D3 national championship?
Yeah, they sure
did. Come on, Packard. This happened last year.
I thought it was like a new thing, but yeah, sure. Bantam Pride. I don't know. I can't really have that much love for a NESCAC rival.
Oh, Bowdoin's trash.
Well, not in electing mayors in New York City. We're kind of number one in that.
Well, salute to you on that. But basketball, what really matters, they're trash.
But Jeff asks, what is the possibility of a Horford return? He has a 1-year deal with a player option, or the Aussie opts out and comes back to play with JT. Would the Celtics even welcome him back at this point? Are there any hard feelings in the Celtics organizations about him leaving twice?
No.
I don't know.
I was pretty understood both times.
I mean, right.
Also, he's only apparently good on the Celtics because he has not been great for the Warriors so far this year.
Yeah, this is...
People are wondering whether he doesn't got it no more.
It would be like, what would have to happen with Golden State? I think something needs to go bad in Golden State for that to become a realistic option of like a really bad.
I don't think a Jimmy Butler locker room would ever go.
Yeah, it is. Listen,
and losing. Yeah.
But yeah, it's clearly he's. I mean, it'll be fascinating when he talks about it more. I know he talked about it already a bit too. Was it Nick Friedel, I believe? At the Athletic J. But him leaving this offseason, I think very much decided, like, if Tatum was healthy, I don't think like he considers leaving. So now, like,
his whole tune changed after Tatum got hurt.
Right. So like if Tatum comes back 100% healthy and the Golden State flames out in the first round this year, then I think, I wouldn't expect it, but would it rule it out entirely if he wants to come back here at a minimum? Like, stranger things have happened. I wouldn't count it by any means, but I don't know.
Would he have anything left?
That's what I was going to say.
That's a big
If you're relying on Al Horford and whatever, like 18th season to give you anything, he would come back and be a feel-good story and give you, 15 minutes a game? Maybe?
Yeah. But that's fine. Like, that's if they go after someone like Zubac or so, like another real center, so you have him, Nemi, and then Horford's your stretch big for 10, 15 minutes a night for 40 games a year in the playoffs, and that's perfect. Because even if he doesn't give you anything, that's like you don't have to rely on it anymore. And the Warriors they're already bringing him off the bench. They're already trying to protect him a ton regardless this year. We'll see how it looks in a few months from now. But Celtics don't want to be in a position where they're relying on him. But for at a minimum, of course you take him. Even if he has a trash season this year, I'd still take him on a minimum.
I think you got to take him for the vibes. But I think you brought up an interesting point in a question that I've had. So like I brought up Claxton, we've brought up Zubac. Neither of them are stretch bigs. How important do you think it is not necessarily have like a stretch five as the starter, but to have that as part of like the Swiss Army knife? Because one of the things that's made the Celtics special, I think, in their past 2 seasons was they had 5 two-way players and the stretch bigs. They could play 5 out if they wanted to, but they didn't necessarily have to. Right now, they don't really have a 5-out option, Jay. And so how much does that get taken into consideration when you're kind of searching for this 5 to play around Jason Tatum? Like, how important do you think having a 5-out option on the roster is for this kind of Celtics team building?
I think if you can get one, great, but it doesn't have to be a stretch 5. There are, quite frankly, very few stretch 5s who can actually defend at a high level in the league. Like, you could probably count them on one hand. And that was part of what made Horford so valuable. And Porzingis too, is that, yes, they could shoot threes, but they could also hold their own defensively. And that was a huge part of the deal. Like, we've seen Jason Tatum work great with Daniel Tice. We've seen him work great with Luke Cornett. He doesn't necessarily need somebody who's going to be a knockdown 3-point shooter, who's going to have a 3-point volume of 5 or 6 per game. Like, he is fully capable of creating advantages without that. And so I think you get best player available. If the guy can shoot threes, cool. But if not, then you run your offense differently, and it just looks a little bit different than it did the last time they won a title, and that's totally okay too.
Yeah, I think that's when you look at the league now too. It's like I said, the number of those guys that are out there, as Jay said, it's just like so limited. And like, who is it would be great to get Bam Adebayo. Like, yeah, great. Yeah. If you want to do something like that, then you're A, praying that the Pat Riley retires, and B, like, you're saying goodbye to the Jaylen Brown or Derek White. So if you want to move forward with the top 3 guys on this roster, then you have to kind of lower your expectations in terms of what's out there. And then, which means it might not, finding the perfect stretch 5 might not exist. And you have to just find the best lineup to put around whoever that is.
And one thing that this season is beginning to crystallize, I would say, is even without Jason Tatum, there's a lot left. There's even without Al Horford, without Kristaps Porzingis, without Drew Holiday, without Luke Cornett, there's a lot left. And like, through 15 games, the Celtics have a +5 net rating. When Pritchard, White, and Brown are on the court, they have been fantastic. You add Jason Tatum back, him alone is going to change things. Then you're only going to need a couple of pieces, because they're finding the young wings. They're finding the young athletic wings that every team needs. They're finding that in Josh Minott, Hugo Gonzalez, Jordan Walsh. These guys can play. And I don't know exactly what they're going to look like as they grow older. I don't know exactly what they'll be, but they can play. And
they also kind of found a young big, and like Nimi can play too. I don't know if he's like a starting caliber setter, but he's a role player at this point. He's a rotation big.
Yeah. And so I think it's pretty clear that there's a lot left beyond the guys that are proven championship guys that you can build with. And that's exciting, because I wasn't sure about any of that coming into the season, but 15 games in, there's a lot to like.
Most encouraging part of the season so far. Like, forget the record. That's it.
All right, this question's from Kainoa, our greatest Hawaiian subscriber. He says he likes it. Yeah, he's self-named.
Is he sure he's the greatest Hawaiian subscriber?
I have not seen any other.
I'm just kidding. He's the man.
Yeah, we're giving it to him.
And I'm pretty sure his girlfriend one time sent us like chocolates as a thank you for being his.
Yeah, that was
podcast.
Incredible.
So he's absolutely our greatest Hawaiian subscriber,
and always will be.
Yeah,
our greatest subscriber. Period.
I dare another Hawaiian subscriber to make a run.
Hawaiian. Why not just name yourself the greatest subscriber ever?
Oh, let's see if he changes his handle. He says, I like Simmons a lot and saw a glimpse of his offensive explosion in that Magic game. But besides the tough 3-point shot making, he hasn't seen much of an inside game. He seems to be seeing the floor well, is making the right passes, but for an elite scorer, it feels like he's not being utilized correctly. What can the Celtics do to make his scoring easier or to get him like better looks for him to get his buckets? And B-Rob, before you answer that question, I'm going to say, sorry, folks, you're going to have to, if you want to hear the answer, you're going to have to subscribe to the Patreon, because part 2 of the mailbag is going to be exclusively for the Patreon members. We got a bunch of questions left. And so if you want to hear the rest of the mailbag, including the how to fix Anthony Simons, go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. We'll have part 2 of the mailbag. We'll have the rest of our bonus content. For those listening on the YouTubes, we appreciate you tuning in. But we'll catch you on the other side. Again, that is patreon.com/stillpoddable. And we'll see y'all later.
Still Poddable, Still Poddable. The Boston Celtics, Still Poddable, Still Poddable.
Oh, yeah.
Slow down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.